Our viewers all over the world, good morning. Welcome to this special edition of the Bakwetu TV with Honorable Hon Mabeta MP for Kankoyo constituency in Mufurira. Mr. Mabeta, Honorable Mabeta is our resident MP. And we always meet on every Friday now at 9 p.m. where we discuss and educate the public about what is happening in Zambia, current affairs in Zambia. Honorable Mabeta, welcome to Bakwetu TV.
Good evening to all the viewers. We really appreciate the time they give us and the space they give us in their life to be together. But Chilufya lelo ni pali chitatu tepa Friday. It's a Wednesday.
Yes, Wednesday. Yeah, always on Wednesday. Thank you so much, Mabeta. 9 a.m. Come and listen to what is happening in the new Dawn government. This program is about education and discussing important issues, current affairs happening in our beloved country, Zambia. Mabeta, welcome to Bakwetu TV once again. Before we could go into topics of discussions, I just want to know what's happening in Parliament and also regarding your community work in Kankoyo and other parts of the country. Over to you, Honorable Mabeta.
Wow, basically this parliamentary session is more of a bill session. So there have been some bills which have been passed, bills for enacting some regulatory body, like for the social science, social workers. They are forming their own organization. The Zambia Association of Marketing also, they are trying to repeal and upgrade the association to respond to the changing marketing environment. Because remember, it was formed 20 years ago in 2002, when there was no much use of the internet, there was no much use of Facebook. So they need to align themselves and respond to the ever-changing and growing in technology in the field of marketing. We also had the Bank of Zambia bill, which is trying to stipulate and bring a lot of changes in the banking sector, especially the running of Bank of Zambia. There was also another bill on the remuneration, where we have to set up a committee which is going to ensure that the packages, the salaries, and the other benefits people in public sector get, they are fair, other than the discrepancies which we have. Because currently what happens, the president to appoint you and determine how much you're going to be paid. So you want to bring that sanity, that is an independent body which is going to regulate how much someone gets, instead of being negotiated as an individual. So there's some bills which we've been focusing on. So this has kept me more. I've spent so much of my time here because I have to be parliament to ensure that we support what the government is trying to introduce. Because if the numbers drop, then one, we're going to miss the quorum, and secondly, we may not be able to have enough numbers to pass those bills. So we've been asked to stay around and support the function of the executive in this period.
That's fantastic, Mabeta. So it looks like this session is about reforms, repealing bills, new bills. And one of the things we want to talk about is reforms. And I think our viewers will be so interested because some of the things happening in our country today, people are saying they are persecuted, not prosecuted, but we just want to touch on that. I'm going to play a video. I'm going to play an audio, and then we can talk about that audio. By the way, Honorable Mabeta, did you hear the sound from the music I was playing?
From Picket Shala, the great Picket Shala.
Yeah, did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Because some people made some comments that there is no sound. So then we've got sound. Okay, let me just play a clip. It won't be long. Then we can talk about that.
Now, another suggestion which is topical, cause some controversy is I actually think we need lifestyle audits. I was Solicitor General. I worked as Attorney General. Why should I be afraid of being checked if I didn't steal? I should be asked what I have, how I got it, and when I tell you that it's from allowances, I should prove that. If I tell you I have businesses, let me show the businesses, but I should also show what tax I paid. We must all account for the wealth we have. Otherwise, don't go into public service. I have heard some rebuttals about this lifestyle audit issue and saying everyone should then do it. We can't target people. Does everyone handle public money? Those of us who choose to enter these public offices should be open to accountability. When you are in public office, you are not a private person. There's no privacy. If you drive a Range Rover, we want to know where you got the money. Because you are in public office. If you wear a Rolex, we want to know where you got the money. Otherwise, you don't qualify to serve and you shouldn't serve in those offices. And that would be true no matter which party came into power. Progressive organizations do lifestyle audits. I don't know. You can't become a millionaire out of serving in government. How have you done it? How have you done it without abusing your position? If people want to be business people, go and do business. If you want to serve the people, serve the people. It's funny because just a week ago, I had the minister responsible for research on Masebo. I asked him a very good question. I asked him where he's gotten all his money from. I asked him if he's involved in some form of baiting. He said no. I do work, and the money that government gives me is enough for me to spend. Ask him for his payslip. That payslip is public. You are a journalist, go on a performance or someone asking for his payslip. You are entitled. He's serving you, the people. Seek for that information and check. Go and get my payslip. I can give you the payslip I was getting.
I think that was enough, Honorable Mabeta. Did you listen to that?
Yeah, I was able to get everything.
Yeah, that was State Council Mwenye. Is now the commissioner for Musa Mwenye. Is now the commissioner for anti-corruption. But Mabeta, just a preamble. I think we need to educate Zambians, especially by PF, because when the government is forfeiting assets, through a civil means called Asset Forfeiture Act. This act is similar to what is known as lifestyle audit in the UK. They think they are being persecuted, but I just want to give a preamble. The UK one. The UK discovered that it was very difficult to prosecute financial crimes, and not only that, also criminal gangs, drug dealers and everything. So they came up with a law, and mostly this law is for civil servants. And apart from civil servants, other people who are targeted are those people involved in dubious businesses. They're trying to elicit drug money and wash it into clean money. So they came up with this lifestyle audit in 2017. And all they do is look at my Honorable Mabeta, how much does he earn? Let's audit Mabeta. And and also one of the most important things is how much tax does Mabeta pay? Because people who deal in drugs, they don't pay tax. So, because how are they going to pay tax? What are they paying them for? So at the end of the day, the government will audit that person, and then if they discover that most of those assets are reasonably obtained through dubious means, the government will go in and grab those assets. And then, Mamabeta, another preamble to that, this is not the first government to prosecute people. You remember during Mwanawasa government, his first term, Minister of Health, notorious Minister of Health, there were 2 people who were prosecuted and they were jailed. They should be in jail by now, even now. Permanent Secretary Dr. Bulaya, and then the Director of HR, Mr. Kapoko. You know how they were prosecuted? Because they started building houses like water, like drinking water in Chalala. You know, the new Chalala, when Chalala just started. And then Kapoko was buying luxury cars from a salary of a civil servant, not even a permanent secretary, a director in HR. So, Mabeta, you're talking about reforms. Can you educate the Zambians about lifestyle audit or asset forfeiture? The means, the route the government are using now to forfeit assets they suspect of obtained through stolen funds, and also Mabeta, when are we going to have a lifestyle audit enacted in Parliament? Since we're talking about reforms, over to you.
Yes, when I was working for the bank, I think we used to declare our financial best. You know, when I started doing business, I had to fill in a standard form, sent to the risk manager. He reviewed it. He looked at the type of business I'm going to do is going to bring reputation. Because when I'm working for the bank, you're carrying the bank's image wherever you are. So if you involve yourself in a business which is going to be in conflict with the business of the bank, obviously will become a risk to the bank. If you're going to do yourself in a business which is going to put you under pressure financially, you end up steal money from the bank trying to sort out that business. So it's a normal thing when I'm involved, I mean, in a position of influence, obviously, you need to be accountable. Responsibility comes with accountability. There's no harm for me or anyone else who's in the public. I mean, even in the private sector, it's not just about the public, in the private sector. If you're working for Zambia and you seem to be getting rich fast, I mean, people should question you are finding the money. So a lifestyle audit is just a matter of being accountable in how we're doing things. We are not limiting Zambians to become rich, no. But what we want is them to be accountable. If I'm making $100 million, I mean, I'm 100,000 kwacha a month, I need to pay income tax. So that income tax has to correspond with the money which I'm earning. But if I'm not paying any income tax, but I'm spending 100,000 kwacha a month, then it means I'm getting that money, obtaining that money illegally. But if it's legal, I'm going to spend income tax on the money I'm earning. So this lifestyle audit is to try to minimize, because the biggest cancer we have in Africa is corruption. The reason Africa is crippled with debt is why it's not easy in Africa to generate revenue, domestic revenue, but it's easy to borrow money and you go and siphon it through using a project, you know. You borrow money, so you're going to build a road, and you don't build that road, they just share the money. But in the balance sheet of the country to be showing that Zambia borrowed $20 million to build 15 kilometers, or if you just build a substandard road, you build a substandard road and you share the money. So the easiest way to make money in Africa is to borrow. That's why even today, Zambia, we are sitting at $29 billion debt. That's a huge amount of debt this country has ever seen. You didn't left Zambia with $7 billion debt, but the MMD through Mwanawasa, they managed to bring it down to below $500,000. Rupiah Banda left it at 1.2 billion, but the PF, they grew 1.2 to $27 billion, both domestic, I mean, that is the external and internal debt combined just in 10 years. So that's why the drive over there, that debt, it was corruption. That was the easiest money I could get. We saw how cadres used to get contracts. They're given a contract to build a bridge. All you do is negotiate with the Chinese. You sell that contract and you get the money, the Chinese do the work. They're not going to care about the quality of what they're going to do. They don't feel it. They're not there to make money. So that they'll do short work. So the audit is there to make us accountable on it, the wealth they're accumulating. If you're doing genuine business, you're doing genuine business, believe you me, I've been in court before. I went to court, lawyer. As long as you are innocent, your conscience is your asset. Like God has given us a conscience which is able to withstand the test of time. But if you become jittery, then to me there's something you're hiding. But if you are innocent, if you are really innocent in the things you do, believe me, your conscience is enough to stand by your side to protect you. So there was a first reading where a private member introduced the member for Mwembeshi. He introduced the bill for the lifestyle audit, which we all supported, but has gone to the executive for them to review and whether they can bring it back. That is, we're waiting for it. But I still believe every Zambian today is willing to support such an audit. If you're not supporting, then there's something you're hiding. I've just seen a post on the Honorable Mosampa's page where he's willing to be the first politician to he has invited anyone to conduct a lifestyle audit on him. The first he's inviting them to say, come. Me too, I'm willing. I want to be the second one to be audited to account for the wealth I have. You know, you're genuine, if I don't even need to cry for. The secret court of justice is going for because they're innocent. But those who are innocent, it's something they're trying to hide.
Can you hear me, Honorable? Yeah, you were frozen. Continue. The network is not so good.
Yes.
Okay. Can you continue? Yes, can you continue, please?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is a lifestyle audit shouldn't even be law. It should be with the Zambians demanding for someone to account for the wealth they have. It's normal. Want to learn also how they're making that money. Want to get the motivation how they're managing. If I'm failing to make the money which my friend is making, there's no harm to ask how they're doing it. That gives me some form of leakage on how I can also make it. So there's no harm to account for what you're earning.
Okay, Mabeta, can you hear me?
Yes, I can get you.
Okay. Now, Mabeta, what is your advice to people like Joe Malanji? Because yesterday, DEC Director General, Madam Mary Chiluba, issued a statement that they've got credible evidence that will stand in court. And if Malanji, wants justice, he can go to court. What is your advice to Mr. Malanji, to Honorable Malanji, who is your fellow MP?
He's been given a huge opportunity to clear his name because as far as the public is concerned, in the public opinion, Honorable Malanji is viewed as a person who acquired the 2 choppers and the hotel. It's using dubious means. So I've been given up a huge opportunity in his life to clear his name. All he needs to do is to go and prove how he acquired those assets. That's all. That's a huge opportunity. You know, unfortunately in politics, there's always this perception that politicians are corrupt. So whatever you own, which is more than what your other fellow politicians have, they'll think you're corrupt. So when you're given an opportunity to go and account, that gives you a huge chance to clear your name up and prove to say genuinely acquired those assets. The justice system now has improved. There is no sleeping woman say, delayment in cases being taken to court. So this is an opportunity to clear his name.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Mabeta. While you're there, there is an elephant in the room. This is a topical discussion the last week or so, and which is declaration of assets by all ministers. And if you know our Director of Information in Ministry of Information, Mr. Kawana, has been attacked in the media that he lied that all ministers declared their assets. So, Mama Beta, if people have to be audited, lifestyle audit, the starting point is for all ministers to declare their assets. Not only all ministers, all civil servants, including maybe member of parliament and parastatal chiefs, all senior people in parastatals should declare the assets. And Mabeta, this is a law. So, Mabeta, if somebody hasn't declared, are they not breaching the law? And how is this act or law enforceable? Over to you, Mabeta.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not sure whether that is the law, but all I remember is when I became a member of parliament, I was given a form to declare my assets. Unfortunately, I haven't done so, Chilufya. I hope to do it because I need to go to the High Court and do that. So I'll be able to do it. Maybe it's on the motivation part, you know. If maybe what the government should do now, if it's slow, Chilufya, you are given 3 months. After 3 months, don't declare your salary is withdrawn. Believe you me, everyone will be forced to go and do that because you can't survive without a salary. So there should be a limit at which the period at which you need to do it. And if you don't do it, your salary is withdrawn. So I'm willing to go and do that, and I'm going to declare my assets at the High Court very soon because it's important. As we need to learn from others. We shouldn't always be pointing fingers at others without looking at what they haven't done right. I've failed in that area, and if the other ministers, other public workers who need to declare their assets, let's do it. It's all for the benefit of us. Because one day when I'll be asked, one day I'll be out of this office, one day UPN will be out of government, I'll find myself in the same programs which the people are facing today for what we've been failed to do the correct thing 10, 15 years ago. So let's do it. It's there to protect us.
I think, Mabeta, that's fantastic. Even myself, Mabeta, I would encourage all my fellow UPND members who are ministers, permanent secretaries. You never know, 5 years, 10 years from now, because the only thing that is constant, Mabeta, is change.
Yeah.
There might not be change in 2016. There might be change in 2010, 2031, or 2036. And then you never declared your assets. Because declaring your assets is the starting point. Because, Mabeta, I would give you an example. We all know that our former president, His Excellence Edgar Lungu, declared about 2 million when he became a president. And then within a year or so, 18 months, he was one of the richest people in Zambia. So the public audited his lifestyle. Where did he get all that money? So I think, and not only that, Mabeta, if you don't do that now, it's at your own risk. Because if you had 2 million when you start worth of assets, when you became a minister or permanent secretary, and after your tenure of say 5, if you're lucky 10 years, you've got 5 million, nobody is going to prosecute you because you had money. But if you don't declare, yeah. But then, Mabeta, there should be some form of way of encouraging or forcing, especially our government. We should learn from the past because we don't want to be prosecuted after 5, 10 years or 20 years. Yeah. So, Mabeta, going forward, let's move into another important topic. So we've talked about declaration of assets. We've talked about lifestyle audit. There's something that is happening, and it's all over the social media. It's gone viral today. Zesco has issued a tender, and everybody is asking questions. It needs some clarification. And if possible, maybe somebody needs to go to the parliament and explain, because the public is furious, including the opposition. I heard one opposition member saying the UPND government are not different from the PF government. The same thing they were attacking us, that we were doing, we were using Zesco as a cash cow or whatever, which is true. Zesco has been a cash cow for so long. They are doing the same thing. Mabeta, Zesco has shortlisted 10 companies to supply and deliver 9 and 12 meters of wooden poles. But then, Mabeta, just a preamble. President Ichilema, His Excellency, and it's in the manifesto, one of the things he promised, and that will lead to creation of jobs for Zambian youth and entrepreneurs, is that whatever government institution, parastatals, procurement, even in the mines, it says 50%. If a foreign company supplies something, they have to go into a joint venture with a Zambian company 50-50, because they want some of that money to stay in the country. But then Zesco Mabeta has shortlisted 10 companies, and they are all from either Zimbabwe or South Africa. What is your comment? Is that not against the objective of the government or the policy of the UPND government? Can you please educate the public about this? What's your opinion?
Yes, Machel, I think one of the promises we made to the Zambian people was to eliminate the middlemen in the supply of the energy sector, especially fuel. We have so many middlemen, and as a UPN, we want to eliminate middlemen. Okay, so what's a middleman? Basically, a middleman is more of a trader. A trader is a person who doesn't manufacture products. They will tell me, go and find us a bottle of water. I'll go and buy this bottle of water, put a markup, and come and sell it to the government. So become a middleman. So maybe the question we need to ask ourselves is, do we have the materials this was looking for within our means as Zambians? One. Number two, do we have the capacity to supply the poles which are needed to connect the 60,000 unconnected residents over a period of from 2013-2014? We've had this backlog of unconnected. Even in Kankoyo, there's an area, Kutondo area, which has been a thorn in my flesh because the people, the residents, they keep on complaining to say, why haven't they been connected? So like this, the government of the European government made a commitment to say by December, all the 60,000 will be connected this year. That's a huge commitment, which has failed to be done in the last 7-8 years. So we are looking at the processes. If it is that we're going to, one, we need to, for Zesco to buy the material which is only found in those South Africa and Zimbabwe at the moment, because in Zambia was still growing. I think South Africa, they still have challenges to meet the demand. It's only found in Zimbabwe and South Africa. For Zesco to buy from those South Africa, they need to find a local who they can partnership. Remember, to partner, you need to put money on the table. You need to put money on the table. If it's going to be 50-50, obviously, for South African company is going to put 50%. The Zambia has to put 50%. So to find the Zambia who's going to have that's the same capacity will take a bit of time, and we start running out of time. Start running out of time. Then Zesco is going to miss the target. So for me, this provides an opportunity to say there's an investment area which we Zambia should start now looking at the options. Why shouldn't we go into the investment of producing the poles? I know the trees take long to grow. The average is between 10 and 15 years, so no one would want to invest for that long. But that's what is making Zimbabwe and South Africa different from us, because they invested in the past. So we are trying to clear the middlemen in the energy sector. By clearing the middlemen, to buy direct from the manufacturers. So maybe what we need to do as a government is also to compare. When Zesco was buying the middlemen, those the PF registered companies which were the team which are supplying the same material. I remember even Honorable GPM had a serious issue with when the PF just went over the same post. This has been a cash cow for politicians, There's a time when the post supplied the post worth 2 million quarter. That was a huge amount in 2011. That was a lot of money, and it brought a lot of issues on his head. And the president Michael had to cancel that tender, if you remember it. So this business of supplying posts has been a cash cow for some other people. The same people have been supplying to the one who are crying because they've been eliminated. Otherwise, what the government is trying to do is to eliminate the middlemen. The same thing is happening in June. Come June, you're going to see a lot of cry because the middlemen are going to be eliminated. If you want to encourage production in Zambia, let's do joint ventures which are going to encourage production and not trading. Because if you're going to make trading available, in trading which is going to make you rich easily. No one's going to focus on the production, because all I do is get one item outside, come and deliver it in Zambia and make that money. So the government, maybe our focus should be, how are we going to replace, how are we going to compete with those people who are supplying the now, and the focus starting. So partnership should encourage traders. Our economy remains very weak. No matter what you do, regardless of who's going to bring that material, the money is going back to the same country which is producing the poles at the moment. It doesn't change anything. Even if it's Zambia who's going to be given a tender, I'm going back to buy from the same people. So the money still goes there. So what we need is to produce the items which we're importing. And Zesco is trying by all means to clear the backlog of 60,000 unconnected Zambians to the national grid.
Hon Mabeta, thank you so much for that explanation. But the question is, Hon Mabeta, if President Sata, and even beyond there, that even before President Sata came into power, there was a problem. We were still importing these poles from South Africa. Hon Mabeta, we've got Minister of Planning. It's not just Minister of Finance, it's also planning. And Hon Mabeta, we knew this over a decade ago. Does it take over 10 years to grow those trees? We've got what do you call Zafico? Don't you think Zafico cannot grow those trees? If there was an investment in there, why should we be importing from South Africa? And yet we knew, a long time ago that we can actually grow those trees in Zambia. And then Hon Mabeta, so we are buying straight from South Africa. To me, that's a short-term solution. What is the long-term solution?
Yes, 10 years ago.
Are we gonna continue buying these poles from South Africa? How long does it take to grow these trees? Is it not maybe 3-5 years?
No, the average lifespan is between 10 and 15 years for them to grow.
If we had started that time, cancelled that $2 million contract, which is 10 years ago, today this supply would have come from Zafico or from somebody else.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I'm saying. We focus more on trading because that's why we make your money quick. It don't take you 10 years to be able to supply the poles. I used to walk into Zimbabwe, I buy and deliver. So we focus much on trading than investment. Now look at the UPND government, the direction this government is taking. The government is pumping so much money into production. We have regions. I've seen some plantation in northern area. I think northern after summer there's some plantation, private plantation. There's some plantation in Wapula. Citizens are going to get the CDF. That's one tree of eucalyptus costs about 5 kwacha. Why can't you use the CDF in the regions where there is good rainfall, regions where there's good soil, to go in and invest that empowerment fund in the production of timber? Because the timber keeps on, the price of timber keeps on going high because the demand always is higher than the production due to the period. So the constituencies, which maybe rural constituencies, have got the land, the crying of climate change, let them, instead of the government maybe giving them money, let the government give them the seeds to plant the logs, so that 10 years from now, those constituencies will be able to supply even into Zimbabwe and South Africa. So it's a matter of identifying what we are lacking and finding a solution, not complaining. Because through complaining, we're not solving a problem. This problem will keep on recurring. Even if they give those contracts to Zambians, the problem of buying from Zimbabwe and South Africa hasn't been taken away. So we need to start looking at how do we fix this problem. And the only way to fix it is to empower people and give them the seeds to plant the trees. But how many Zambians are willing to wait 10 years for them to reap the investment? We are very, very few. It's not easy in Zambia.
Yeah, but we've got Zafico. We've got Zafico. Zafico. It's just more investment into Zafico.
Yeah, but I mean, but Chilufya, why can't we private individuals go into this opportunity?
Yes.
Why should we always depend on the government to do things for us? Hmm? Why should we depend on the government institution to to take up this opportunity? Let's see the private individuals go into the production of timber. There's a friend who was doing a calculation for me. I didn't pay much attention to him, but what he was talking about is going into this timber production. He told me to say, come 2031, we're going to see how much money I'm going to reap. I thought, 2031, that's far. No, that's too much. To me, it didn't make sense. But him is determined, he keeps on pushing money in the project of every year he's planting 5,000 plants of timber. Every year he's planting 5,000. Every year he's planting 5,000. At the end of 10 years, he's going to have a forest and you'll be reaping from where no one is investing. And also had the green economy, what they're doing budding, although it is on the Mukula tree. They're trying to one of the timber tree. I'm not whether they get a tree which grows fast, then they put the other one which grows slow on top of the. I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but that's research where they want to produce the timber which takes 100 years and reduce it into 20 years. So let's invest in production of timber. Timber is a huge industry, but it takes long to rebuild. One tree which it will take long to replace it. So planting of trees should become an investment.
But Mabeta, you seem to be cutting. Are you there?
Yeah, I can get you now.
Yeah. There's a comment here from Joe Frin. It says government cannot do everything. Private sector should have invested then. Joe, you partly correct, but in every country, the government is the biggest investor, and not only that, the government creates an environment for the private sector to do some business. Private sector is there for making money, and if the government does not have a policy to drive the public sector to drive the economy, then we're in trouble because the private sector won't do anything. So the government is there to facilitate or provide a conducive environment for Honorable Mabeta to leave his job and go and invest in tree planting. Thank you. So,
Yeah, thank you,
Honorable
Baba Chilufya. Now we have an opportunity. The government is giving us 5 million per year per constituency. Why can't we have a deliberate policy to say, let's invest this empowerment fund into the production of raw material? We want to industrialize this country, not looking at the raw materials we're going to use to feed into the industry. This is one of the opportunities. So let's start thinking of industry by first identifying the raw material going to produce to feed into an industry. Because when the raw material is available, an industry to add value to that raw material. So this empowerment fund should go more into production of raw material. IDC should identify to say, like Kaunda, I think Kaunda had started it in the past, where each province was known for something it was producing. Southern province for maize, Eastern province for cotton and groundnuts, this province. So the empowerment fund should go into the production of raw material, not into the trading. We are so much used to trading, buy and you deliver. You're going to buy rice from Tanzania, come and deliver it in Zambia, instead of investing the production of rice in Mongo. Mongo rice remains the best. We are so quick. I know, because maybe because we are financially struggling. Obviously, we need short-term funds. But this 5 million, which the government is giving each constituency, should go to identify a certain raw material that constituency is going to produce. This constituency should be known for producing a certain type of raw material. If it's lemons, if it's lemons, I come from a constituency which is highly polluted. We put up a lemon plantation there. 10 years from now, lemons are selling high in Congo because of that lemon liquid is used in the production of what you call a lotion, a certain type of lotion. So let's invest in the production of lemon. Let's put maybe 2 hectares plantation for lemons. We'll manage it from the lemons will be able to harvest and sell. So this CDF empowerment should go into production of a certain type of raw material. If we can increase raw material production, even industries will come, because no one is going, it will be cheaper to process, to add value to the raw material than to export it in its raw form. That's how we're going to grow the economy.
I think, Mabeta, we've got what is known as slave mentality. One of the preachers is late now. May his soul rest in peace. Dr. Miles Monroe. You know, we want to make quick money, and that's why there's so much corruption. Because somebody, as you know, moves into a position of where they can abuse the office. They just want to amass wealth as quickly as possible. That's why we cannot think about the future. Because if SATA stopped a tender of $2 million of supply of POS, the same POS 10 years ago, 11 years ago, why didn't we invest? But because somebody wants to go and buy from South Africa and come and sell to Zesco. You know, so now the same people now are crying because they cannot be given that tender. Because obviously, if that tender came from a Zambian person, you would have added a markup of 100% or 50%. You know, so I think it's the duty of the government to start investing or encouraging Zambians, even facilitating some loans to invest in such sectors, because you know that's why the kwacha is so bad, fluctuating up and down, because we literally import everything. Now, Mabeta, we move on to the next topic, and we'll talk about a few things in the Ministry of Health. The first thing we'll talk about, Mabeta, there's something that this government has done that I've never seen in the last 30, 40 years, employing 11,276 health workers in one go. Now, Mabeta, people have applied. What can you advise people who have applied for these jobs? What is the next step? How are they going to know that they've been picked? When are they going to know? What is the process to start with? Over to you, Honorable Mabeta. Honorable, you are frozen. Honorable Mabeta. Honorable Mabeta, can you hear me? I'm sorry, our viewers. We've got a bit of a problem internet-wise. Welcome back, Honorable Mabeta.
Yes, I think I was in a room where there's a poor internet connection.
Yes, yeah.
So, you're able to get me now?
Yes, and very clear. Do you remember the question?
Yes, about recruitment of the health workers.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Chilufya is not in the last 40, 50 years. I think in the history of Zambia, if my record is correct, I've never seen where the government at a go recruited over 11,272 health personnel at a go. So this is what we are trying to say. We in the UPND, we mean business. We are not here to joke. We are here to work for the people of Zambia. We are not here to appease, but to invest. You know, when you recruit 11,272 health personnel at a go, we are simply transferring money where it matters the most. Because these people, obviously, they will need a bed, they will need sofas, they will need to eat, they will need new clothes, they will need so many other things around them. So the money which the government is going to give them, they're going to spend it locally. So this increases the disposable income in the economy. That's the only way you can put money quickly in the hands of the people. But obviously also they'll provide the quality service. You know, going to get a quality service from the institution they're going to work from. It also gives them the sense of belonging and sense of achievement. They become patriotic. So this is more than our appeasement, but it's an investment. So from the advert, what I saw is the advert closes on the first, which is tomorrow. They have to take the application letter to the district health officer and also keep in copy the DC. You know, they need to keep in copy the district commissioner. Why are we creating the DC? I mean, keeping in copy the DC commissioner. It's to ensure that no one comes and cries to say, I dropped my application, but my application was removed. My application was not considered my application. So I want to have a record. After that, a recruitment committee is going to sit at district level, which is going to involve different people from different government institutions and even obviously the church bodies who are going to scrutinize the applications. I'm sure the criteria of selection will be done, but there'll be a list which is going to be put public on everyone who applied in that district. Number one, this is the transparency the UPN has brought. Number two, when you are not considered, if the space won't be enough, you'll be given the reason why you haven't been picked this year. So that come next year, if you need to improve, if you need to work on your grade 12 results, you need to improve on this. You're given a chance to improve on where you're lacking. Or if you qualify, everything is okay. When the next slot is done next year, obviously be given a priority than someone who's going to a new entrance. So this process is very transparent. It's very transparent. Don't even need to give anyone any money to consider you. The panel, the panel is going to scrutinize the application. It's a huge panel which even the SEC is going to be involved. So no, people shouldn't worry. This is the most transparent recruitment I've ever seen. In the past, we used to see adverts about helps, adverts about mtoto. Now what we're seeing the adverts for jobs, Chilufya. We never used to see adverts for jobs in the paper, especially government jobs. So this is something Zambians should be proud of. We are investing in a human resource, you know.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Mabeta. A lot of people were worried, and
Yeah,
especially
that's what
that,
I'm saying.
especially
Before I
that
forget,
Mm.
before I forget, also please take a third copy to your area members of parliament. The Minister of Health has asked areas of members of parliament to monitor this process. Take a copy so that we create a database and you're able to monitor what is happening. Because if I don't know who has applied from my constituency, it will be difficult to know who has applied and who has not. So please take your copy to the areas of members of parliament who are going to keep a database and to keep an eye. I'm not saying we are going to get involved in recruitment because the National Assembly is not part of the executive. However, we've got an oversight role. An oversight role is like a watchdog. We can keep an eye. We can check what is happening because that's the role the Zambian people have given us as National Assembly. We are not recruiting you, but you're going to provide an oversight role in the recruitment.
I think, yeah, before I comment on that, Mabeta, we've just been joined by one of TV Bakwetu family members, who is Dr. Barbara Chanda. Dr. Barbara Chanda, can you please introduce yourself? And then I'll bring you back to ask Honorable Mabeta any questions. You mute, Dr. Barbara.
Good evening, Patrick, and good evening, Honorable Mabeta. I'm Dr. Barbara Chanda. I'm an accident and emergency physician, and I do a lot of work in private health as well. I'm based in Manchester. So, greetings to everybody. Am I allowed to ask a question, or is it later on?
Not now. Not
Okay,
now.
I get it.
Actually, you've come at the best time because we are on Ministry of Health. So as soon as we finish, you'll be allowed to ask a
Okay.
question. Yeah. So Dr. Mabeta, we're still on Ministry of Health, but what I like about your explanation is you've explained um, very well, articulated very well what is happening. Because Mabeta, people are so, a lot of people are so scared, especially that top HR officials have been put on forced leave. So people are thinking there's still some kelenkas in those districts. So because obviously for those people to be issuing letters, there was this thing of people collecting money in the PF government for government workers to be employed. They were collecting money, 20,000, 10,000 from people who have never worked. So a lot of people were so worried. But thank you so much for explaining that. So, Bamabeta, going forward, why should we be having ghost workers in Ministry of Health or any government institution now? What should we do to stop that?
Obviously, it's corruption, broken systems. You know, I remember the time I was working at a bar. I was working at a bar where I could see my boss come before I do my stock take. He just comes and gets things. He goes, just gets things and goes. And I realized this is giving me an opportunity to steal because how does he hold me accountable? So if you've got a boss who's stealing, it makes everyone to think stealing is okay. You know. So isabirambira kumuto okubola baba Chilufya. Me, I resisted the temptation of stealing, but I saw that to be a very big mistake. That's why even when I went in my business, I made sure that I don't abuse my position to break the systems. I work with the systems, Chilufya. The first thing I'll do in any business I want to do is to set up a system, and I'll respect it. Even when it doesn't favor me, but I have to respect the system, because the system is the one who's going to pay me at the end of the day. So muntu ng'alanda ati ubomba mwibala alya mwibala. They'll find a way of creating apakulira na mwimbuto tapali. So the corruption which we had in the PF, it was so contagious that if you are not stealing, you are seen as you are one suspect. They'll think you're the one who's going to report them. So they'll get rid of you because one. Those who did the normal things became abnormal. Those who did the abnormal things became normal. So obvious, those 144 letters, there was nothing driving them or the motivation factor apart from corruption. How do you issue offer letters before an advert is rolled out? So it's all because of the greediness we have in Africa. Honestly, how do you ask for 20,000 from a person who doesn't work? Are you really a human being? Eh? Are you a human being? Because a human being afuna kwata sense of humanity in them. Huyu muntu alafunya kwize mpia. Talabomba. Takwate offer lela ku school is to get a job. But before he gets that job, you want him or her to give you the 20,000 to get a job. You're being unfair on that song. It's not right.
Okay, Dr. Mabeta, just a follow-up question or comment. When this issue came out in Diggers that they've been ghost workers, it was all over Facebook. And one of my friends, a doctor, Dr. Kajila, you must know him. He's based in Canada or America. Dr. Kajila said something which you said systems. He says the solution to stop ghost workers in government is to digitalize the whole system. That's one. But then you heard about Auditor General doing the forensic audit there. But Barbara works in the UK. We work for the same organization, though different organizations in the same organization. Accountants, because doctors, they don't know about processes and systems and everything. In the health sector in Zambia, we need computerized systems. Everything, even if somebody gets a Panadol, it should trigger somewhere that somebody has taken a Panadol. It should record somewhere one Panadol subtracted. So it's systems, and then the Auditor General, those are accountants, financial accountants, auditors. They can put processes and controls which can stop ghost workers. I can tell you, but Mabeta, I'm a financial accountant supporting one of the big NHS service, 20,000 workers. Before a job is advertised, because everything here is on NHS jobs, but Barbara knows about that. Before a job is advertised, the accountant, first to start with, but Mabeta, if you work in NHS Manchester Hospital, you will be attached to a cost center, and not only that, you'll be also attached to a subjective code. So, which means for your boss to advertise a job, your job needs to have money in that cost center and subjective code. So, and who approves that? So there is what is known as responsibility accounting. So it's not a doctor who is going to approve, but Barbara is not the one who is going to approve. But Barbara will come to me and say, but Patrick, therefore, that's how process controls are. Okay, but Barbara, I'm quite a budget. If there's no budget, I won't allow Barbara Shomund. Before Taylor, I'm going to advertise. So once Barbara, but there is money, I will approve that electronically. All this is done electronically. I will approve that, send it to, and then we'll send it to Barbara, HR, payroll, everybody. So there's no way somebody would be in the system, because there are systems in place, processes in place. And then if the day you stop your job, there will be a form that will be signed. It's called an assignment form or amendment form that and that form will go to accounts, to us, it will go to Barbara, it will go to HR, it will go to payroll. So even if Bamabeta overpay after you've left, we will discover that. So don't you think, Bamabeta, we need systems in place, an investment in proper systems?
Wow, manual working in the manual way. I think as a government, this is where we need to accept to say the government, we need to invest into systems. It's so cheap to work with the system than working manually. Even the bureaucrats we are seeing, the bureaucrats we are seeing today, we are seeing civil servants, maybe they are not supporting us because we're spending so much on human control. So I remember I went to one of the police station. I found a brand new computer in the office. The government office had procured the desktop, very good desktop for police to start going electronic. Unfortunately, those computers were procured with a huge corruption scandal behind them. So they've been told to not to use them because they'll be used in the court of law as evidence. So you can see how much corruption seems to be disturbing everything, Chilufya. You try to do this, what you're trying to implement comes in a corrupt way and it becomes a problem. We need computers. Even when you go to the hospital, Chilufya, I shouldn't always whenever I go to a hospital, I shouldn't tell the doctor my history. The doctor should just log in my name or maybe any identity code to look at the history of the diseases that have been treated before. What if it's an emergency? Do I always have to tell the doctor what my history, my medical conditions? The systems will be there to support us. So we need to create system. I've seen even the NRC, I heard the Minister of Home Affairs says we are going to do electronic NRCs. We are going to do electronic NRCs. That's the direction it should take. So even the CVs, the CVs, you should just put my name or maybe a code. We're able to view my CVs. So we're moving in a very, very advanced stage of this is the 21st century, for heaven's sake. 21st century in the 2020, we cannot continue working manually. The reason there's so much wastage and loopholes in the government because they haven't invested in the systems. You have to work with the system. Systems make operation very easy.
Yeah, so Mabeta, systems don't just make operations easy, but they also reduce corruption. But Barbara will support me. Here in the UK, if I want to apply for a passport, I don't go to the passport office. I go to the post office, complete a form, pay there and they send it. They will tell me it will be ready in 6 weeks' time. When I phone the call center, I'll be speaking to different people I don't even know. So who am I going to bribe? In 6 weeks, my passport will be sent home. Then, Honorable Mabeta, why can't we use a Minister of Health as a case study? Because the Minister of Health has been used as a cash cow for so long. You remember, even before Mwanawasa came into government, there were big scandals in Ministry of Health. Procurement, resulted into the successful prosecution of Dr. Bulaya, who was the permanent secretary, and also Mr. Kapoko, who was the head of HR. So, because Mabeta, if there is a system, procurement, there's no way somebody can supply umwela. Because if somebody orders, it will be done by one person. And then the person who processes the order is a different person. The person who signs the delivery note once those medications have been delivered is a different person. The person who dispenses the medication is a different person. So all those people are accountable in the system. So, Mabeta, why can't we invest in the systems and we use Ministry of Health as a case study? Over to you, Mabeta.
Yeah, so if there's a sector where they used a lot of systems in the banking sector, working from the bank and I was in the back office, I was a system administrator. I saw how much it was so difficult to work the day when the system was down. You literally can't operate when the system is down. So we need to invest in the systems, Chilufya. In the 21st century, there's no options about it. If you put up the system, the initial cost is going to be huge, definitely, but the benefits, what you're going to save eventually, is going to be huge. Technology, Chilufya, is there to make life easier for all of us. So there's technology available. I've seen CBU, they did a very good software for ZRA. We have got local Zambians who can develop a system. There's a time, I don't know whether it was him, but there's a time when we were given cards at the hospital, the means of health, to say this card is going to contain your biography and everything, so that you can go to any hospital. Biometric, yes. Biometric, you go to any hospital, give them the doctor be able to view you. I think there was a project some time back. How it died, obviously, it's the issue of corruption and maybe misappropriation of funds. But the will is there. Unfortunately, as politicians, we go where there's money. The reason there's so much corruption in the Ministry of Health is because that's the ministry which receives a lot of donor aid.
It's a cash cow. It's a cash cow.
Yes.
But why can't we protect that cash cow?
The easiest money you can get in government is a loan or aid, money being donated to the government, because don't need to push someone to pay you. So when that money comes, you can easily manipulate it, create a fraud to benefit you. So the Ministry of Health is one of the most funded ministry by the donors, and you easily find it. We had stories of ARV which are meant to be used in Zambia being sold in other countries. ARVs which are given to Zambia
in Zimbabwe. They ended up in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
But how did they go to Zimbabwe? How did they come out of the system?
Because we don't have a system.
Yes.
So we need to invest in the system. Our health sector is going to improve once we invest in the system. Even the minister doesn't need to start calling the heads of what if a province to find out what's happening in that clinic. They log in with their thumb or any biometric. Should be able just to click on the clinic and it will show you who's working today there or not. That's how easy the system makes life. What we are using here to communicate to you is the system.
And not only that, Honorable Mabeta, the system leaves a trail.
Yeah.
You can delete things, but it will leave a trail. Even when those auditors come, they'll find a trail because there is a system. How are we going to know those drugs, which ARVs that ended up in Zimbabwe, where did they come from? You won't even know. Where do you start from?
Yeah.
So, Honorable Mabeta, let's ask Dr. Barbara Chanda, who is a medical doctor in the UK, And not only that, he worked in Zambia. So he's a well experienced doctor working both in Zambia and United Kingdom. Dr. Barbara Chanda, we need questions for Honorable Mabeta.
Thank you very much, Patrick. So first of all, I'll start with making, just a comment. I'm sorry, before I go on. As a family, we've lost two doctors that have really worked extensively in Zambia. So I just want to offer my condolences to Professor Munkonge's family and our family as a whole, and Dr. Mwaba as well, who's also passed on. He was one of the really, they were both very excellent doctors in Zambia who've laid a very great foundation for all of us. Now, moving into the Ministry of Health, first and foremost, the systems that we are talking about are there. It's not that they are not there. They have fantastic systems. When I was going to study medicine in Cuba, we went to the bursaries committee, you filled in an application form, you even wrote the reason you want to become a doctor, blah, blah, blah. By the time I was graduating, when I went to the Ministry of Health, that file was there. The one I wrote when I was 17 years old, it was still there. I was given a staff number, I was given the payment center that I belonged to, all those things, they are there, exactly like in UK. If you start a job, you get a payment center, you know where your tax is going, where you know exactly your cost center where it belongs, you know your staff level, you know the G level of your salary, etc. Those things are also there in Zambia. Where there is a problem, when poverty and corruption comes in, everything starts looking as if it doesn't exist. We start talking, oh, we should put a system, which those systems are there. We just have to honor them by stopping the corruption, by respecting our own. First of all, we have to respect our own lives and our country. Even here in Europe, the minute people are threatened with poverty, we saw it during the COVID-19. You remember when it just started? People went amok. They started buying medications and doing crazy things that they would normally not do because they were threatened. Life is threatened. Now, Africa lives permanently in a position of threat where people are threatened with poverty. So when somebody gets a job, instead of thinking about the future, everybody thinks about the immediate effect of how they'll become better. We ourselves, as citizens, when a minister is appointed or a person in the office, we don't look at them as people doing a service. We look at them as the blessed who God has answered, because now they are moving from one class level to another. So we don't see them as workers. We don't see people don't see the minister as a minister who's in there to do their job. People are not looking at Mabeta, somebody who worked hard, became an MP. The majority are looking at him as the blessed guy. If he's not careful, he himself, imagine tomorrow he becomes a minister, everybody is treating you like Nuevo king. Before you know it, you start doing things without following the law. A lot of people, believe me, when they are being taken to the courts for corruption, most of them think they are innocent because they were doing it because they took the piece, they genuinely thought it was okay. That's why I ask our MPs, Mabeta, there should be a law, the way they did in Singapore by Lee when he started developing Singapore, to encourage our cultural behaviors to change, where people should fear that if I steal, I'll be locked up. Even nangfeni patu no, nangwasenda feka paraseta mukamu mfile wa mfomwensu that I shouldn't do this. Because that culture where we are coming from, oh, bomba muivala, dia muivala, simply means wherever you are, you should partake in whatever you're doing. And that's what people have been doing. Uchitishama passport na wala panga kuempia mundibu passport. Uchitama registration cards apange mpia mundibu registration card. Wasanduka MP na wafira kwa apange mpia mundibu MP, because that's the culture we are in. So we just need to change our cultural behaviors. I think the MPs should look at that. I submit to Mabeta and Patrick.
Yeah, you're very right, Dr. Barbara. But for me, I think culture, leaving things to culture won't work because twaliona ukakaleva Barbara. What we need is punishment and restrictions. Twaliona ukatwaliverera. Omuntu kumwipusha afya tibushe. Manda wiyavera kwita nalaya moshinga boss. Pakumyeba nalamyebeshe. Wamuposha afya honorable narumba sana peni ya kulumbira. Nimirumba sana lero so peni ya kulumbira. We have lost value, we have lost morals. There are no morals anymore. So we need now to go the hard way, which is the law and the systems. We need systems to limit what we do. As, you know, when you put in systems, you find that nafilafia kwati washafe jacket mwofesi ngawa afikafe mwofesi washe jacket wamufua yendanama. Iwacho wako nkakufa yendanama kwisala msende jacket ichunguro because now is a coach to be paid. The system will know that it didn't work. Because to be able to, every time you want to come in, you have to log in. Every time we are out of work, you have to log out. If you're not at your computer, the computer will indicate that you haven't worked that day. So we just need to go, we need to computerize even the government. The private sector, I mean, we have to come private sector because of the way the system works. So even in the government, we need to be productive. I think I followed some posting by Honorable Brian Mushimba. You know, Honorable Brian Mushimba was the minister of in the PF government. It's giving us a certain hints which we have to listen as UPND. It's giving us a lot.
I think he's in Canada now.
Yes, it's in Canada. That's why it's working. It's talked about auditing all the government institutions to remove unqualified. He knows what he's talking about. He talked about computerizing the way we work so that we become efficient and productive. Because he knows to say a civil servant was a minister. So he has compared the working culture in the government and the working culture where it's going in Canada. So he's able to tell to say what we have in Zambia, we can't develop as a country if you're going to continue working like that. And you've got Zambians who've got cheap and workable computer software which we can use in the country. They've got a lot of computer scientists. Even living outside Zambia where they're working, they can develop a package. So let's computerize. Let's go technology. Even the Minister of Technology, I think I'll suggest this to him to say, let's start promoting technology by building systems in the government system. Let the Minister of Technology promote technology within the government system.
Thank you, Dr. Mabeta. But Barbara, you made some very important points, and Mabeta also. But Barbara, you said there are systems in there. But Barbara, what I've discovered is I worked in Zambia, I've worked in South Africa, and when I worked in South Africa, that's when my mind opened because I worked for some of the biggest companies in the world. I worked for Castro, which was one of the biggest oil companies in the world, and then in 2001 BP took us over, and then I worked with one of the biggest oil companies in the world. But Barbara, systems are there, and not only that, control and processes. And that's what is lacking in Zambia, Barbara. There are systems, but there are no controls and processes. So, Barbara, like here in the UK, in every hospital, they're not just systems. There's an internal auditor who sits in there. And that internal auditor, sometimes it might be a private company. So what happens is, if there is any suspicion of fraud, there's a secret line to those auditors. You can phone immediately, at night, everywhere. Then two, we've got internal controls. They are financial management teams. And these are the guys who monitor the budgets, who monitor the expenses, who monitor everything. Like now, Barbara, one of our teams, we are doing stock takings for medication. We want to make sure the 2 million medication that came in cancer department this year, we want to know how it moved and how much have we got. Does it reconcile? So, Barbara, if there's that culture and culture alone, Barbara, won't do anything. Because even here, Barbara, if there were no stringent processes and systems and processes and controls, people would still steal. Even here they steal, but they catch them because they leave a trail. Do you have a comment by Mabeta or closing remarks before we finished? Over to you.
No, omuntu ffe Chilufya omuntu ffe nikaboolala kulaba ffe nawe omuntu wakweba ati wemwine olefera nokupenda empya shiri mutumba iyo oba etumba mwatalafunya empya mara olubukyera obwanca wafira okupenda moletina ti mukyanaali bwompya bwina empya. So by nature, human beings, we are weak souls. What can control us are the laws and the systems. As long as we continue working manually, we are going to be solving the same problem. But once we go computerized, we introduce computerized systems in government institutions, we are going to achieve so much. And maybe it might come with the issue of job losses because obviously computers can replace a few. But let's look at the bigger picture. What we are going to save. What we lose as a country is more than what we need to generate to be a better country. There's so much losses in the process, especially the government. It's just going to land in private, private chemistry. And there's this issue of NEMA where now you can use the NEMA cards to go and get the medication. The same health people open their own pharmacy, chemists and the pharmacy. I don't know if it's a chemist or what's your pharmacy. They'll give you a prescription to go and buy the medication which you should have gotten from the hospital. This medicine is going to go into the chemist. The amount of saying the government has increased the grant so that hospitals can be able to buy medications, medicine locally. They're going to buy from their own chemists and inflate the prices. Who's controlling the price at which they're buying those medications in those locations? Who's controlling the prices? Who's there benchmark on the prices which they're buying from? The government will release enough money, but this money is just going into being stolen by the people who should be providing a service to the Zambian people. So we need to invest in the systems. We're in the modern world. We can't work without the system. If we don't create a system, we're going to end up having headaches and BPs. So as a government, we have no option but to invest in systems and the computerization. We need to go technology. And you have a base of technology.
Mabeta, are you still there? You still there? Just how come banks have managed to put systems, processes? Because if a bank never had a tight system, they would close after 2 months.
Yeah.
And then we've got people like Melu, the director. Is he the chief executive of ABSA? They meet with the president. You tell me they can't help us to make sure that we've got proper processes in place, because banks have managed to do that.
Can I just make a comment over something?
Barbara, I wanted to bring you as a closing remark. I'll allow you.
Okay.
I'll bring you in before we close. So, Mabeta, if banks have done it, why can't we do it? Why can't we learn from them?
Okay, but Barbara can make a comment also.
And then every bank, Mabeta, every bank has got a person who is called, has got a department called compliance and control. You know that?
Yeah.
You know why that department is there? To make sure that people are following the law and they are following the processes. Because by not following the law and processes is where the corruption comes in. Any comment, Mabeta, before I bring in Barbara? She's itching to come in.
Yeah, obviously, I think we've had a lot of bankers, who, there are a lot of Zambians who have worked in the bank, they're now in the government institutions. I think this is something we need to bring on the table. If I was working in the bank, I understand how certain procedures or certain departments helped to ensure that there's tight control of, mitigation of the risk. Because what you're looking at is risk control.
Risk management,
how do you manage the risk? The corruption part of the risk, pilferage, inflating of overpricing of commodities. So we need to bring on the table and say, we need to take this way. The only way we're going to manage this is to be compliant, is to stick to the rules. is to detect danger even before it happens, to go prevention than correction. What we do in Zambia is to correct than to prevent. All we are doing as UPND is to correct what PF was doing, but we're not preventing UPND from doing the same thing which PF was doing. We need the next government to come and now correct what UPND was doing. We can't grow as a country like that. We need to reach a point where we are prevention. Prevention is better and cheaper than curing.
That's fantastic, Mabeta. And thank you so much for coming. We can keep on, us here, even about Barbara, we've got a lot of talk time. So you have to be very careful. We've got only 6 minutes. But Barbara, that's your talk time, 6 minutes. We'll be closing. Thank you so much, Honorable Mabeta. This was a fantastic discussion. Let's continue next week. I can see comments from the viewers. Thank you so much, viewers, for your comments and for your viewership. Keep on sending those stars and also join Bakwetu family. It's only $4 a month. And us in the UK, it's only about £3.49. Over to you, Barbara. You've got 6 minutes, no talk time.
You've already eaten 1 minute away from me, Patrick. It's not
Imagine.
5 minutes. The first thing I want to mention, when I mentioned behavior changes, a lot of you misunderstood me. You probably thought in there and then time been about goodwill. No, 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 no. When I was mentioning behavioral cultural change, I was referring to the behaviors in work, from simple things like if you need to start work at 8, you should be in your workplace by 7:30, so that by the time 8 is starting, you're doing your job. Those are behavioral changes that worked in Singapore. When I mentioned behavioral changes, I think you referred to me thinking, oh, alikuwa Tom Timo Sumo Mwini akaichinja. No, that doesn't work. People have to be taught how to behave by timekeeping. These are all skills, timekeeping skills, behavioral skills on how to handle things. All those are structural controls that can be put in place. They start from small things like timekeeping, uh, being accountable and responsible to your job. Where there are 5 people should know what their duties are and what their roles are. If those 5 people are not meeting on their duties, the one in charge should ask, why are these 5 people not learning what they're supposed to do? Do they need more skills? Do they need to be taught? Or are they above, is the job above them? Those are the things that we have to be having in place in the Ministry of Health. Why am I saying that? Because a lot of us in Zambia assume things just happen by themselves. And then when they go wrong, we start complaining. Even just simple things like amapo yamuma Zesco. Those are things. Timber is something that you don't grow after 2 weeks. If you've lived in a farm, I was brought up on a farm near Kuyakuma Kamvinsa, all over. Those are things that grew through my generation to be where they are by the time they're now selling them. The timber that we are going to start growing now is not the timber that we'll be selling in my generation or my child's generation, probably my son's children's generation in Sholo Yaba Yakula timber. So we have to focus on the long run. Those are the systems and behaviors I'm talking about. We have to change the behavior, the way we look at things. Is it just for myself for tomorrow? Even government officials, all of us, even the way we talk about our country, we all talk about in a very negative way. Even me, you, all of us. Imagine if today we start saying, oh, Zambia is a very prosperous country. We do this. We are the best at this. We are the best at that. If you go to the Ministry of Health, by 8 o'clock, you find somebody. If everybody spoke like that, they will be there at 8 o'clock. But if we put ourselves down, my child is asking me, oh, Mom, I want to do something about football. Instead of just answering him straightforward, the first thing I'll say, I doubt if you find somebody picking up the phone. That negativity is what destroys us, all of us. That's why I was saying that we all have to get into the behavioral change, the cultural change, the Ngaurefa passport. We should all have a system where you know that there's a way where I should apply and it comes to me. Now, if I'm interested to contribute, all of a sudden, if we're diaspora, we are so busy. I expect my passport to be out within 2 minutes because you are making somebody desperate to bribe you. because it's you yourself who's putting them in that situation. Oh, I'm leaving at 1 o'clock. When you've been in Zambia for 1 month. All of a sudden, you need a passport on the last day. So you push somebody to make things to be on under pressure, and then because they know maybe you have money, you pay them. I'm talking from experience because some of these things I've done them. We all have to change our behaviors. I submit it's one. Have you got a minute left?
But Barbara, that was fantastic. For the first time, you leave me with 1 minute.
Behavior change. She's talking about behavior change, changing for the better.
Yes, but
I
yes,
think
but
she's brought up very important points, and these are the points I've also come to learn through our interaction. There's a certain man yesterday was telling me to say the only 3 things, like Barbara said, which Zambia needs to start working on. Number 1, timekeeping. Zambians were very bad at timekeeping. Discipline starts from how much you value on the appointment you have. If I tell you you're going to meet at 10, you come at 12. Already you're giving me an impression that you're not serious with what you want. Timekeeping, very important. So we need to go into that culture. So if I tell you you're going to meet at 10, you're not here by 10:05, I need to leave. And rather than wait for you to work at your convenience, because they're going to teach you next time to keep the time. Number 2, for everything I own, I need to work. No free thing. If you can just build a culture where to say, I can't get anything for free unless I work for it. That's how going to increase productivity. That's all this issue of even corruption is going to reduce, because the pressure we have, we politicians, is we keep on spending more than what we earn. There's always someone who wants this, there's someone who wants this. But if people are going to say, for me to get anything, I need to work, they're going to ask for the means to work than to benefit where they haven't worked. Then number 3, paying for what we consume. If you are Chilufya, I tell you to say, Kongweshenko 50 kwacha kamipira pa Monday. I'm not able to give by Friday, I want to be able to give you on Monday. Let me tell you and ask for another day and assure you a date. But in Zambia, Fika is over, Fika is over. I would rather borrow without any plan to repay, but Fika station, Fika is over. And this is where we are today. The same behavior now came into government, and the government has put us in total chaos. We don't know we're going to pay the $27 billion we're owing. All what was done is to borrow. Fika is over. So this issue of Fika is over. This issue of Kudiamo, and this issue of Aralolela. If we can deal with these 3 things, timekeeping, timekeeping is a sign of seriousness. If I'm going for a date with my wife and I don't keep my time, she's going to think I'm not serious. But it's how much the time I put in to show the punctuality determines the seriousness in what you're doing. So we need to change 3 behaviors. Work for whatever I want to have. And number 3, we need to be very reliable. When I tell you I'll do this, let me do it. If I want to do it, let me communicate to you what you do. If I say every Wednesday 19 hours I'm going to be Bakwetu, they don't want to manage. I need to inform you. So we just need to create that habit of reliability, dependable, and timekeeping. I'm sure the country is going to move forward. 3 behaviors are enough to change this country. I thank you, and we hope to see you next week. Please continue supporting us. I think next week we need also to look at maybe how we can link the local opportunities which the country is creating with the diaspora, because we were so much dislinked. There's so much people in the diaspora who can invest in the country, can identify those who can invest, but we don't know who they are. We don't know where they are. We have got now tools in which we can communicate. Maybe we create a WhatsApp group of the diaspora and those in government and start looking, exchanging ideas on how we can create a network. You're talking about a system of putting money from outside, invest it grows. It was very easy to pick pictures. But I think this time we can even verify. You can easily call someone else to go and verify that things are happening. So the technology should make it easy for you to invest back in your country, because you can easily verify without even traveling. That's a problem.
Mama Beta, it looks like we won't separate river talk time, the three of us. You know, but it's good. It's umulomo positive, very good umulomo, because we worried about our country, where we are going. And if we continue the way they are, you both mentioned something very important: culture. Barbara, I'm an accountant, trained in Zambia, and then continued training in the UK. I worked in different organizations in Zambia, then moved to South Africa, and then in the UK. But you guys mentioned something for in Africa. Even South Africa, Africans are lazy. They don't follow time. You know, when I joined Castro in 1996, I was the first black person to work in the Castro finance department. And then there were other black people who were working in other departments. Abasungu balesa kuli bayenje, but iwe, you're lying. You're not Zambian. You must be American. I says, no, but how come your culture is different? Naba nenwaba. They don't come kunchitong, gabafola pa Friday, pa Monday no isa kunchit. That's Africa. It needs to change. And then Nasa Isaku UK, it was a cultural shock, the way accountants work. Totally different from Zambia, South Africa. Here, they work on time. If Kongwani, like we're doing year end now, you've got a timetable. You know what? I know what I'm supposed to do today, tomorrow, in the next 8 days. And in Gashitile, somebody is on my back. And somebody is on his back. That's how we work. And if that culture, and it starts from Kuwaiche, timekeeping. Because Zambia ngwayo mtu tukakumana pa 14 hours. Akesa 17 hours. Ku UK, if you don't go at 14 hours, that's the end. An interview nishualusa. Because they will know that he's not going to be a good worker. And then fitampa kuwaiche. But even us, we can learn it. We can, Mama Beta, I'll give you an example. I went out with my son last week, and then somebody dropped a packet of crisps. They are taught in school that dirt is not good for the environment. The young boy picked the crisps and started looking, a packet of crisps, and started looking for a bin. That's the culture we need to develop in Zambia. Because if somebody steals medication from the hospital, he should know that it's depriving a lot of poor people. If somebody steals money from the government coffers, he knows that a lot of other people will suffer in the economy. We can keep on talking and talking. Mabeta, you need to go. But Barbara is enjoying because she's my friend in talk time. Our viewers, thank you so much for your viewership. We're now coming to an end. Thank you so much. May the good Lord bless Zambia. Mabeta, thank you so much. Barbara, thank you so much. Good night and bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.